If you have a local service business, you are not going to want to miss this. Today, I have the opportunity of speaking with Dr. Hunter Alario from Chiropractic, who has done something, honestly, I have never seen before. He's going to share with us how he was able to grow a local service-based business only using Instagram. It's going to be crazy. Doesn't do anything with local SEO, which is my world. So I was super excited to have him come in here today, and he shares with us exactly what you need to do for your local service business to leverage Instagram to reach your dream clients and grow your business. Welcome to Marketing Domination. Well, Dr. Hunter Alario, I am honored to have you on here today, sir. Thank you so much for taking the time to sharing some of your expertise and your stories with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man.
So my side note to all of this is I met Dr. Hunter a couple of months ago through what he's going to teach us about today. But awesome man of God, awesome family man, crushing it with his business and everything. And so he's my personal chiropractor. So if you see me standing up taller and everything, that's why.
Yeah.
It's just been just to honor you for a second, man. You are authentic through and through, and that is one of the things I appreciate about you, and just getting to know you over the past couple of months and everything is just, you are just I tell my wife after every appointment, I'm like Dr. Hunter's my guy. Like, I just like hanging out with him. So thank you so much. I just want to honor you with that, man. So start off, Dr. Hunter, just kind of tell us a little bit, quick overview about what your business and your practice is, and then also kind of the quick version of how you even got this thing started. Because this is your facility is newer, right?
Yes. We
walk us through that.
This facility in November of 2024. I'm a chiropractor, right? I believe a lot in the power of the adjustment and what it can do for the body and restoring order. But taking it a step further and rehabilitating the spine, right, through curve correction and using the systems in which the body holds to create normalcy. I very much live by a philosophy, by the power that created the body can heal the body, right? God created the body in its perfect form, but that doesn't mean that imperfect things don't happen, right? For the same reason you would cut your arm, you don't sit there and tell it to heal, right? There's a systems of things that happen, and in about a week it heals over, it scabs over, and there's a scar left behind. But if you were to have a platelet deficiency, it wouldn't heal the same. The same thing is true in the body, right? You can get an adjustment and you can create mobility, and for some people that's all they need. But when you take a dive deeper and the study came to light when I was first in college of, getting adjustments and having to sit down, looking down all day long, right? And it would keep coming back and going into the PT side of it. And like, well, yeah, that'll help. Great. But then there is a specific technique called chiropractic biophysics and the study of posture analysis and reshaping the spine to create long-term health. And that's the thing that Chiropractic specials in. That's something that I wanted to do since I first started graduate school and didn't know where I wanted to go. And I actually moved myself and my wife, who was pregnant, 6 months pregnant at the time, all the way to Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm from South Louisiana. She's from Wichita. We met in Dallas. And we found ourselves in Tulsa based off of chasing the implementation of that technique. I was with a previous employer, learned a lot from there. And, think 3 years down the road, Chiropractic started actually in a business class in graduate school. The name, the idea of it, all of it. And, 3 years out of school, I had the opportunity to have that come to life. And since I have, it has been absolutely, God, man, such a God blessing thing and such a calling from God, the time frame in which it all happened. So that's kind of where it all started. We started in a small room, like tiny, like I'm in, I don't know if I should, show around.
Yeah, show us the place, because it's an awesome place. Because it's not a normal like medical practice you think of. Like, it looks like a sports performance facility with adjustment tables.
Right. Open concept, inviting, we're playing music in here. Everything's comfortable. Everything's out in the open, and it's for design of me to be able to keep track of what's going on, and be able to call audibles of like, yeah, you know what, I need to switch his traction up today. This is how he reported back from this visit to that visit, or, hey, he needs to bump up his exercises. He's ready to move to the next section. And what we're doing is finding out what the root cause of the issue is. And if we can fix it, let's fix it. If it's postural related and you have a reverse curve and that's contributing to the 10 years of neck pain and hands going numb and bicep weakness in the right arm, we're able to dial that down looking at disc space. Are there bone spurs? Now, I can't see the soft tissue, but uniform in space throughout the spine tells me a lot. And symptomatology as well. But if I can create a fix on that, I'd rather not be an expensive aspirin. Let's fix the issue. And so that way, the health doesn't just reside in pain and comfort, right? It's with working out. It's with eating right. There's a lot of other steps that come into your healthcare. And for a lot of people, I'm just the step through the door of being comfortable first, and then they're able to pursue those goals.
That's what I love is you're all about just getting down to the root issue. And like you said, just not just walking in and getting a quick pop crack and then you're out of there. You're really trying to fix the root issue. So,
hey, look, and for some people, that's what they like. And for some people, that's where they're at in their health, is just maintaining mobility. But for other people, it's like, I'm not going to fix 10 years of discomfort and nerve impingement with my hands. That's some Jesus stuff, and I'm definitely that guy. So,
so tell me this, Dr. Hunter, how did you kind of make the jump from, and even because it's a mindset shift and it's a jump from being an employer to wanting to be an entrepreneur and doing your own thing? Because especially someone like, a field like yourself, like you went to school forever. And most of the time when people go through something like that, or like law school or any of these like big fields that requires a lot of education and a lot of education expense with it, like then not too long after that, like then going in like, hey, let's go all in and let's open our own place. What was your journey kind of through that of deciding like, hey, I actually do want to be an entrepreneur and do this on my own?
Yeah. So with the previous employer that I was with, there were a lot of great things promised. And what we were doing in that office was, similar to what we were doing here. And then along the line, those promises weren't upheld. It was a business decision. You know what I mean? Like, my family comes first above all things, right? Being able to take care of them. I worked in their main facility for a couple of years and then opened and ran the Owasso facility for a year. And, the things that were promised didn't come to fruit. Right. And I had an opportunity to talk to God a lot about it. And funny enough, man, in the midst of like the largest storm that we've gone through as a family, we on the fence about, being where we wanted to be, because I loved what I do. We loved where we were. It took us a year to meet the people that we've met. And because for the first year of us being here, my wife wanted to move back to Texas.
Yeah.
And then, we prayed a lot about that. And it was a big jump of, in transition of her staying close to home. And because she was working, in Texas every weekend, because it fit the lifestyle and me being able to take care of the kid at the time. And thankfully, when she got out of there, we met all the people that, that we consider family today. And, we get to Owasso and, I'm still stagnant in the same places when I first came here. And I was like, man, this is not for me. And I asked God a bunch. When is the time to go? He kept saying, not yet, not yet, not yet. And then something would happen. And is it now?
Yeah.
Not yet. And then last summer we had the tornado. I ended up, not a whole lot of people know this, but we lost a child. My wife had a miscarriage. And in the midst of all that, I was threatened with job security, and like all within a 2-week span, God said, now, like of all, like now,
Yeah.
like every other time that seemed to make the most sense. But what he was doing, man, was prepping me for that jump. And it taught me how to run a business. It taught me what I wanted to do with chiropractic care, how I wanted to be as a doctor. It also gave me the opportunity to do the marketing of what really started, was the only marketing that I run, is what has grown my business and expanded it so quickly. Because the reason that came to light and how I knew that worked, that type of marketing through Instagram, is because for 10 months of us being in Owasso, I'm from South Louisiana, dude. I don't know a soul over here. But what we thought was, with the company existing as long as they had been, moving to Owasso, it would be like everybody knows us anyway.
Yeah.
They're just excited to have another, us branching out further north. That wasn't the case, man. So for 10 months, we were breaking even. Like, we weren't under, but we weren't over. And it came to the more I looked at it, it's like we weren't having the new patients. And if you don't have new patients, you don't grow. So as much as we were getting people out of care, we were bringing people on. So that's why we were just
just barely washing.
Yeah. So I sat down with the owner and I was like, hey man, this is a marketing problem. Like we've got to go a different direction with this. He was like, well, such and such holds it, it's working, and we know we're getting this amount of calls. I was like, well, it's not translating into patients. Like, we can have all the impressions and we can have all the, website clicks, but if it doesn't transfer over to phone calls and appointments made, what's the point?
Yep.
Right? What are we paying these marketing companies for? What are they doing? SEO and Google ad spend. I said, man, give me the budget of what the ad spend is. Let me run it separately on my page. And if it doesn't work, then we're back at square one. And he didn't think it would work. He's like, here, man, we won't post on 918, then we'll see if yours truly works. Cool. Awesome. That was 9 days into February. We had seen 2 new patients. I think we hadn't even made $2,000, man. Like, it was fixing to be the worst month we ever had. To end February, we had seen 23 new patients, which is the most we had seen in a month period. And we were a third of the way through done. And we had ended up doubling our earnings comparative to every other month. Right?
Okay. So let's do this now. To pause here for just a second, let me explain what you've told me what the thing is, because this is the main reason I wanted you to come on and share was this right here is how this happened, because I have never seen this happen before. So with our agency, with all the clients that we work with, we do the things, we do the websites, SEO and stuff like that for attracting local businesses. And we have clients that reach national markets, do tons of stuff with social media, but they're reaching a national market. What you did, just so everybody knows, and he's going to tell us his process here, Dr. Hunter grew the entire practice with Instagram. He targeted a local market by creating content on Instagram, and that's all of the marketing he's talking about. And it wasn't, when he's talking about the budget, you weren't doing paid ads on Instagram or anything right that yet, or were you?
No, I was.
So tell us the process. How did you use Instagram to attract a local market?
Yeah. So when we found that, when I kind of dialed down why we were tilted and why we weren't growing, I have a buddy out in Dallas. His name's Dr. Strat Paulson, and he opened up a practice straight out of school, and now he's one of the most famous chiropractors on social media through YouTube, Instagram, like TikTok, the whole nine. So I called him. I was like, man, I explained him my struggles and everything, and he started explaining the Instagram stuff, and I wasn't familiar with it. Like, I knew the personal side, but then he started talking about the business and like changing profiles. I'm like, man, I'm going to drive down to Dallas this weekend. Like, let's grab lunch. there was a 3-hour lunch over Korean barbecue that essentially changed the trajectory of everything in business and marketing and everything for me. So basically what it comes down to is, you're, as a chiropractor, unless you're a nationwide brand like the Joint, right, or 100% chiropractic, and even when you're that big, you still have to bring in, like, this isn't we're not selling products, it's a service, right? And the service is always localized. So what I learned to do from Dr. Strat was you film a high quality content video, right? And it's, at the time, what he was doing was ASMR adjustments. And there aren't a ton of chiropractors here locally in Oklahoma that do that. I don't know any that are doing any ASMR stuff. The closest ones are in Houston or Dallas, or other than that, it's out on the West Coast. He's like, so what he taught me was that's your first thing, is something that's engaging, something that people are, when they're death scrolling, they want to stop and they want to watch, right? And then what you do is I've created my personal page into a business. Well, it's actually a digital creator profile, so I can track the analytics. Because starting a business, dude, I don't want to pay. I'm trying to cut costs. So I'm trying to figure out what are the jobs that I can cover. And that was one of them. Like, I can handle the marketing side of it while we're at a slower pace. So what we did was that was the first thing. Got a videographer, filmed ASMR adjustment content, which is super popular. Come to find out, like, that's what people do at night, is they just like scroll and listen to the adjustments. So it was something to catch the attention of the audience. And then when uploading that, what I do is I put a geo filter, right? And I'll film 3 adjustments, right? 3 videos that I want to run at the same time. I'll put the same amount of ad spend and put it in the same amount of a geo filter. So, like, within the office, when I first started, I did it in a 12-mile radius, right? Because people didn't know who I am. They didn't know what I do. I don't know who's willing to drive that far, right? So 12 miles is where I started. And I would put $5 a day for 10 days. So $50 on 3 separate videos. At the end of that, what I would do was go over the analytics of which one had the most traction, which one had the most impressions and views and all that. And what I would do is run it again at a higher ad spend. So now it's pushing it in front of more people, because the whole time what Instagram is doing is figuring out it's trying to figure out who your audience is.
Yeah.
Figuring out the algorithm of who wants to see your stuff, and it's learning. Every time it gets done, it's putting it back in. So you get more and more and more engagement. And all the while I'm doing that, I'm uploading more videos and testing the same thing. So I'm always popping up on someone's feed, and I don't handle this part. Instagram's really good at it, but there's been times where people are like, man, I was thinking about low back pain, and you came across the feed.
That's the creepy side of it. Yeah.
That's the creepy side. I was like, look, that's your FBI agent conversation with them about it. But it's worked so well. And the more that I would put ad spend, so let's say I did 5, the next one, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do $15 for 10 days. Like, let's see if it reciprocated on the amount of people reaching out or liking or following, I would always continuously, I'd put a cap on it on a certain amount per day, but I'd run it for a longer period of time or something like that. And what I did, so this is where I kind of made it more personalized, and what helped me grow really well off the back is when people would like or follow, I would reach out. Like, if you're willing to like or follow, I would go home, leave at 5:30, and I would be on my phone until 10, responding back to people that have liked or followed and throughout the day. And at times that can be redundant, but necessary in the early stages. And then, but what it did was I started that in February, and I ended up leaving my previous employer by May. but we had quadrupled earnings and new patients in a 2-month span before I left. So
Wow.
that's, I knew that was what needed to work when going in. So marketing can either make you or break you in a new business, right? You can either spend all your money and not get the patients that you need to see in, or the people that are looking for you, or it can make you and you can figure it out, and it's what helps you grow the most. And like I said, that's where I think God was waiting for me to figure that out before he said, it's time.
Yeah.
So I left in May 14th, I left that job. I turned around and opened up a small one shop. I had a desk, a table, and my laptop. And I think I actually, after I paid rent, I didn't have anything in the bank. I didn't have a dollar. And we actually had to pull from personal funds to go into the ad spend, and it started off with a couple $100. Just that same process and reaching out to people, and it became more personalized, because what happens is when you're having a conversation as a doc, like eventually you aren't able to do that, right? Because now where I am is people, it's the way that my Instagram has grown, people have now instilled trust, right?
Yeah.
And seeing all the videos. So thankfully I can go home and spend time with my family rather than, reach
DMing
out.
people.
Yeah. But in the beginning it was necessary. And man, my wife has been the most understanding woman. Like, she was always pushing me. Like, even when I didn't want to, she'd grab that phone and she's like, respond. She's like, this is what you asked for. This is what you were meant to do. So without her, Chiropractic may not even be where it is today, because without her support, there's zero chance. Especially with what we had been going through. She could have easily just shut down, but to be the driving factor behind me to pursue this dream, and she's always seen it, has been huge. But that's been the best part, is not having to continue to do that. But in the early stages, when patients would come in, when I was first in that room, they would almost feel more comfortable. Like they knew who I was, and we had a conversation.
They felt like they knew you already.
Right. Because I took the time out of my day to what's wrong? What can I do? I've seen that before. I believe I can help you. I mean, I was really out of my element as well, because I didn't have an x-ray there, so there's a lot of people I had turned away and was like, I don't want to cause more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
If they had previous x-rays, then within, a year, I'd do that. But it was very out of my element at first. But from June to October, the goal was to grow as much as possible, so that way when we open this up in November, it would feel full and not like this was a waste of time, because this was always the vision, right? I didn't want to stop what I was doing and the techniques that I was doing, because I knew it worked and what I was truly passionate about. But it also slowed me down. Again, God works in the craziest ways, man. That time that I was in there allowed me to hone in and learn new adjustments, like the jaw adjustment, like the towel pull, ring dinger adjustment, because it was allowed me to be more efficient with my hands, because that's all I had. It reverted me back to the roots, and made me a better doctor for it. Because I didn't have all the fancy stuff. Like, I didn't have the traction and the x-rays and the rehab equipment. It was, it was a lot of coaching inside with limited space and opportunity, but able to, I knew that I had to do everything I could with my hands, because I didn't have all the other stuff. And that still, it brought me back down. Like, hey, yeah, this is number one. Like, this is where the change happens. The other stuff is the supportive rehab. So
that's awesome. So let's get in. I'm going to ask kind of some dorky technical questions here on the marketing side from based on what you were saying, because it's so interesting to me. So whenever we're running these ads, you had the 3 posts that you would run. Would you be running multiple ad sets at the same time, or would you let the 3 run and then do another 3?
So I would do those 3, pick the one that ran the best, put more ad spin, and then run another 3.
Awesome. So there's
Right.
always a 3 test going.
Yeah. And I don't do that anymore, right? But in the beginning, it just let me know, like, okay, these are the ones that are engaging. This is going to pick up more traction, and I would put more ad spin into it, right? So eventually there was 2 that were running all the time that were always in front of people. And so eventually, like right now, I think I have 6 or 7 videos running, because now they can't get away from me. Like, you've liked it, you've clicked it. Now here's another one of my videos. Here's another one of my videos. Here's a testimonial of somebody who did care with me.
Yeah.
And it comes to this point where, which is super crazy. Cause there's never the intention, right? But like going to Bass Pro and having people, like, I'm over there buying arrows and getting them fitted and buying broadheads for the season, and have my son with me, and he takes a spill and pick him up on my knee, and he's okay. And the person behind me goes, well, good things your dad's a chiropractor. And I laughed and kind of stopped, and I was like,
how'd you know that?
How'd you know that? And they're like, I'm sorry, I follow you on Instagram. I'll watch all your videos. And that's happened on multiple times. Like, we're out at a 90s cover band concert, and having someone come up like, hey, I reached out to you on Instagram. Can't wait to see you next week. And it's like,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I discovered you, is because Courtney and I, we own a couple of businesses here in the town also. And she was like, have you seen this new guy popping up in Owasso? Like, his content's really good. I was like, no, I because same thing. Like, this is where I think it's important for especially local business owners to see, is like the content that you're watching typically from like service providers and stuff, like other physicians and stuff like that. They're typically in bigger cities. They've already established a brand. You're thinking a brand. You're thinking people like Dr. Axe and, these biohacker type people. Like, those are the people that you expect to do. You don't think of a chiropractor in Owasso, Oklahoma, that like is creating this great from South Louisiana. And so whenever you look at it, it does catch you off guard, because you're expecting, like, I remember when she was showing me at first, I was like, yeah, well, who's the guy in Owasso? She's like, oh, this is the guy in Owasso. I was like, what? And so it was funny, because I went through the process too. And that's how we got connected, because same exact thing. I think I started following you, and immediately I got a direct message, and I assumed because you are a doctor, I was like, okay, this is like the front desk admin person or something like that. But then you quickly realize, like, I think I'm actually talking to Dr. Hunter. Like, yeah. It's that. I think that was.
I had talked to your wife the day before, and I was like, hey man, I actually had a conversation with your wife. She's
exactly. I was like, okay, this isn't like a bot or a VA or something. Like, I'm talking to the guy.
Yeah. And it's that personal aspect. Like, I know, like, I'm extroverted, right? Very much. I care so deeply about my patients that, like, I find myself, like, eventually, learning about, like, their kids, like, telling me about their kids' grades on their report card and the play that they were in. And, but that all started from a conversation over Instagram of like, hey, what's bothering you? How long has it been going on? How does it affect your life? And going from there. But yeah, man, maybe it makes your life a little bit easier to hire these AI bots and, have someone else handle it for you, but it takes the personal aspect out of it in a world where we're so disconnected already, where we've already, like, the face-to-face thing, right? Like, where it used to be where you went and hung out with your friends on a Friday night. Now you can just text in the group chat. Yeah. And then now the AI thing is taking it a step further, where, I try and, gosh, I cannot tell you how much it grinds my gears when I'm calling to have a conversation with someone. All I talk to is robots.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, trying to get down to, like, answering a question, like, sorry, I cannot answer your question at this time.
Like,
and it's,
give me a human.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. And then you ask, like, I want to speak to a representative. That is not a valid option. Like, So
Yeah.
bringing back the personality, like the personal side of it, even through Instagram, man. Because I've had people read it, like, and not respond, but then schedule and have the same thought as you. It's like, oh wait, I thought that was just an automated thing.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yes, I have something that I follow up front, right? But like, you're talking to me.
Yeah. It's you pasting the messages in there at least.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
that's honestly one reason. So one of the services that we do not provide at our agency is social media because of that reason. Because I'll be honest, businesses would love to pay me money and financially I would love to take it, but I know that it's not going to work because I tell my clients this all the time. You're not that special. And what I mean by that is the exact same way that you're engaging with social media content is how your potential customers are. You're probably not engaging with a bunch of stock images and infographics from a clinic. Like, it's the type of content that you're creating. It's getting to actually know the face behind the brand. And it's that type of video content where you're establishing that rapport and that relationship. And you can't outsource that. And then the most important part of it is, especially for a local service business, like, you're not getting brand deals or anything like that. Like, the only reason you're doing it is to find and service patients so you can hire them for their service. And so if you're not having that direct interaction where you're managing it, you're going to miss opportunities for connection, for follow-up, and for grabbing the leads and for closing them and bringing them in. So
yeah,
I love how you do it, man. I love it.
yeah.
Um,
And going back to what you're saying about like the video and the stock images, like, man, I have friends, and like this works across all platforms. It's not just for a chiropractor, right? The main number one goal is a quality piece of content, something that someone wants to stop and watch. So I have friends who are estheticians, right? Can't tell you how many times I come across a video and I end up freaking watching it because it's the ASMR and they're doing like the brushes on the face and it's super aesthetically pleasing. And it's like, what am I watching? But it
yeah,
grabbed it because it's so high quality content, and like the sound, it's like, it's neurostimulating at the end of the day. That's what it is.
yeah,
So it's a quality content, and then having them engage and being like, oh, who is this? And then, they might think it's someone in Dallas, Texas, but if you put us on there like Owasso, Oklahoma, like, oh crap, like this is right next to me. This looks awesome.
yeah,
That's the first thing, man. And then being unapologetically you, like, I've always been told, especially out of school with where I was previous, it's like, you've got to be a certain way, you're the doctor, and like, you've got to dress a certain way. And like, yeah, all that's true, man. But like, you can be professional and still be yourself.
yeah,
Like, the big thing that I'm now capturing on the Instagram side of it is like the personal side of me. Like, I'm a huge outdoorsman. Like, it's what I live and breathe. It's what I've been taught since I was a kid. I'm born and raised in South Louisiana. We ate what we caught, what we grew, and what we killed. That's,
yeah.
you know what I mean? And I'm gonna pass that same thing down to my son, and that same mentality. We're not just gonna live off of fruit gummies for the rest of our lives. But capturing that side again, what it goes back to is getting your patients to know who you are as a person. And it also works double on bringing in your ideal patient, right? Because I'll tell you right now, I won't bring in someone who loves or is affiliated with PETA. That definitely won't happen.
You're going to jive with them.
Well, yeah, I'm not, like, because I'm capturing the personal side, but like, my dad he's still to this day, he shrimps for a living. So I can resonate with the blue collar worker
Yeah,
on a different level because I learned my work ethic from my father. Like, no matter how hard of a day you had, no matter how tough it gets, no matter how bad you're hurting financially, you don't have a choice but to push forward. So that also translates into some discomfort, right? Don't matter how bad you hurt that day, moving around hay bales, tending the cattle, like, you've got to feel good. And so and if you can't, then you can't perform your job adequately. And reverting back to what we were talking about before we hopped on, like, I have to take care of my body in order to continue to work. So I get chiropractic care I get deep tissue massages. I'm putting the right things in my body. I'm, lifting 3 to 4 times a week, because if I did it, then I couldn't be the best human for my patients.
Yeah.
So
I love it, man. So kind of the last thing here on the content side, one of the things that I think that you said to me that was like, yeah, you didn't know this, but to me, it was a slap in the face, because I was like, oh, dang, that's what I do. You said, you're like, when it comes to the type of content I create, it's not just me talking to a camera, because people don't know me enough to want to stop and listen to it. I'm trying to create something that's engaging, so eventually I can. And now, after I've been following you for a while, I can see that progression, because a lot of the first content and the stuff that I was seeing was that, for me, the thing that caught me was like the towel pool thing. Like, guys definitely need to go see his Instagram and check it out. But it is this towel pool adjustment that he does. It does make you stop and look at it. And now that you've been in it long enough, now you are starting to share like testimonials, success stories. Like there was something a couple weeks ago, like with you out hunting and stuff like that, and getting some stuff ready. Like,
yeah,
you did that, but you didn't start with that. And to me, that was like, duh, that makes sense now. Cause of course I'm not, just like I said, you're not that special. I'm not that special. I wouldn't stop and watch me either. So like that, how your approach to content, talk a little bit about that too. Cause I think it's so wise.
With
Like how you decided what type of stuff to start with and how that's evolved.
Yeah. So this goes back to a conversation with Dr. Strat. He was like, man, like people don't want to hear. He's like, all the informative stuff you do is great. It's awesome. People don't want to listen to you yet. He's like, we're healthcare professionals. He's like, go look on everyone's page, especially when it comes to the doctor, right? They've heard it all before. And when they're desk scrolling, it's not that they don't want to hear what you have to say, but when they're scrolling, they don't want to sit there and listen. They probably just come from, a super social job, and all they've done is heard people talk all day long, like especially my people who work in the salon, right? Like, it's all they've done is socially engage, and all they want to do is just tune out and just scroll. Whereas, like, if you're sitting there talking, they're going to get 5 to 6 seconds in and scroll. Because one of the analytics because I did that, I started there with, at the previous place, my average watch time was like 4 seconds. It's like, dang.
It hurts a little bit.
All right. Well, maybe he was on to something, but when we started doing the ASMR, he's like, man, just do 2 of them. Like that's after I did that before, because he would tell me what to do, and I thought I wasn't understanding. Then we had that lunch over Korean barbecue and started filming the ASMR content. And it went from 4 seconds to 25 to 30 seconds, and it had way more engagement, way more views, way more shares, way more saves, because people, when they see that, they're like, man, I want that. Like, where's that at? When you're talking, they're just like, yeah, I don't want to listen to this crap. Like,
Yeah.
My same thing my other 4 doctors told me. But I think a part of that comes with too, and what I've heard from a lot of patients is like, they knew that it was worth a dang, and there's something they wanted, because there is confidence that with the adjustment that comes behind doing it on camera, right? Especially in patients that have never been to a chiropractor before. Because if it could go really bad and you caught it on camera, right?
Yeah.
You don't do the right things, and if you're not doing your job and you're just doing it for content, my biggest thing in my mindset is pretend like it's not even there. Like when I'm adjusting, I have no idea where Frank is. Like, it's my videographer, who's absolutely phenomenal. You got to meet him.
Yeah. I got to meet him the other day. Awesome guy.
He's a talented dude, and I lucked out having him with the previous employer, because he knew exactly what I wanted. Because I would go back and I'd edit a little bit, and he was like, hey man, he's like, you want me to do that? And I was like, I'm not going to go ask you to re-edit your video, like his thing is like, well, man, it lets me know what I need to do for the next one, because within the first 10 seconds, you want really the first 5, you want something where the patient's like, okay, I'm in, right? So that is the magic hug. It's the towel pull. It's the jaw adjustment. Every other chiropractor on the planet does the neck adjustment and the rotation and they do the mid back and side posture. But what I've noticed and what people, I didn't set out to be the TMJ guy in Oklahoma. I didn't. But those videos have translated to that. And I'm so happy it has, because there is a huge, huge untreated population of TMJ patients that are just thrown a mouth guard and thrown all this, Botox and things like that. And it's not getting down to the root cause. So I've been super thankful for that, but it's those things. It's the first 5 seconds. If you can get your patients like, okay, what's this about? Whether it even just be a funny spiel. Have you seen the trends where, you have the dude running away from the bull and the bull hits him and
exactly,
then it transitions into that catches that alone will hold the patient for 10 to 15 more seconds on a video. And then they click your profile. It's like, well, who's this? He's local. And then they start seeing your content, and then they'll listen to your talking head videos. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because now they want to know what you're truly about.
Yeah.
In a world where social media has, especially for marketing, has reigned king, there's an entertainment side of it first, right? But also the educational stuff and the testimonials all support that. So that's why I've structured it that way. It's the engagement. It's getting the patients to be like, oh, wow, that looks something like I'd want. I need that towel pool thing done.
Yeah, that looks awesome. I want to. Yeah. I said, like, when you do that, like, adjust your soul. Like, it's just, it feels so good.
Yeah, they'll see you on camera here, not too long.
Let's go. All right. Well, Dr. Hunter, it was an honor to have you, sir. So it's the website, chirocorrectok.com, but definitely want everybody to go check out the Instagram. So it's Dr. _Hunter on Instagram, and we'll make sure that we link it and everything down here below. Any last words for us or anything?
For my business owners, man, are people who are jumping into being an entrepreneur, and who are like on that fence and working a 9 to 5 for somebody else. It is the best thing that you could possibly do in being your own boss, man. Everyone around you will tell you can't do it. The only person truly standing in your way is you, as far as 1, making that step, and then 2, being as successful as you can be, right? Having a plan and strategically in marketing. Market. If you can do the correct marketing and get yourself out there to the right group of people. And I don't think I've said this yet, but Instagram is the only form of marketing I've run, and will probably be until it stops working, because everything that money I put into it has mirrored it directly. As long as that happens, I'm going to keep it that way. And, because there are tons of businesses who do Google, SEO, have a marketing manager, I have all the stuff. I have one, and it's social media, which is crazy to say, because now what it's done is gone from social media to word of mouth referrals. And those are word of mouth referrals will always mean more coming from someone, but it's not impossible. The times are always changing. So will the marketing. So will everything else. Take the leap of faith. It's the best thing you can ever do. And then I'd love to teach more on this, if anyone was ever interested, because you can do it across. It's not just chiropractic. I have a guy who's doing a roofing company who's doing the same exact thing, and it works. I have estheticians doing the same thing, a lash lady doing the same thing. It's the same process, same steps of process can be handled across any other different type of career field.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all this stuff with us, Dr. Hunter. Definitely everybody go check him out. Watch what he does. Look, you don't have to figure this stuff out. Just mirror what works, and it's working for Dr. Hunter, and it'll work for you guys. So thank you so much for your time today, sir.
Yeah, man. Thank you.